Hi, guys. We are live. I'm Nina Hart. I'm the president of the NNBA, the National Nurses in Business Association. This is Casey Goff. She is our member engagement coordinator, and we're back on our Tuesday afternoon live stream. And I am really excited. When you sent me this topic, I'm serious. I was really, uh, I was really excited about this topic because I know a lot about it. I'm very familiar with this topic. But our topic today is the level up or leveling up, breaking through business barriers, busting through business plateaus. And I'm really excited. I think this is a very valuable topic. And I think it's going to help a lot of nurses.
I think so too. I think getting ahead of it really helps for people that maybe haven't gotten through this, that don't think that it pertains to them yet. Just wait. Let us make the mistakes for you.
Well, I think that there are a couple levels where, well, I go through like this roller coaster of levels where I'll be super excited, like going up the hill of a roller coaster. You know, you're about to like have this huge drop. You've got this excitement building, building, building. Then when you have the drop, you're like, oh my gosh, your stomach drops. It's terrifying. You're like, this was a terrible idea. Why would I do this? And so you go through this emotional drop, right? And then you kind of come around the curve and you level out. Okay. And you're like,
Mhm.
wow, that was fun. I want to do it again. Right. So that is my best kind of experience of business plateaus because it's like I go through these, I mean, a couple times a day. But sometimes you face really big plateaus that you don't know how to get over. You're like, I'm stuck. I'm literally stuck. I cannot move. And so I think there's just so much value to understanding that and navigating it and how much that has helped me. And when you talk about like leveling up, the reason I kind of added the level up to this is because a lot of times when you're at that plateau, it's because you're about to have a level up. You're about
Mhm.
to go to the next level. And that's why there's those feelings of like this mixture of like excitement and terror and dread.
Mhm.
So,
Do you have like a personal example of a time you've hit a plateau?
oh, all the time. Yes. So I think there are a couple stages of plateau in business that I hear nurses talk about most commonly. So, like the startup phase, I feel like is its own plateau because you've made $0 and you're waiting to come up to that ridge of like making income for your business. And you're like, okay, I know I need to make this amount of money to quit my job, right? We talked about that. We talked about that last time in looking at our goals and how our goals can convert to revenue is by backing out and looking at what do you actually need to make.
Mhm.
And so I think that ties into this beautifully because you if you're at a plateau, you need to know what the next level might look like. And you might not have a
Right.
perfect picture of where you're trying to go, but you're going to have like an idea of where you need to be or where you want to be. Sometimes it's just this aspirational goal like I want to be here and I'm not. For me, I associate plateaus with either goals or money. So I think like
Mhm.
startup, like getting past $0 to getting to $1, and then probably like the next phase being like 250,000. So I think
Right.
getting up to that 250,000 was exciting. And then you're like, but wait, how do I scale from there? Where do I go? How do I get past this startup phase and I hear, for me, I think about consulting. I hear other consulting firms specifically talking about startup 250K, 500K, a million being like some common plateaus in revenue specifically. And
Mhm.
for me, I have found that 250K mark being like a plateau period. So I think that's pretty common. But also for me, plateaus have been like, in projects or in clients or in tasks where I'm like, I want to get past this thing. I feel like it's holding me back. I think sometimes like a website can be a barrier for
Mhm.
nurses. So I don't think it has to be a revenue plateau specifically.
Right. Why do you like think it happens? Do you think it's just because you get comfortable, or because like you're afraid of like not having enough time to do it or being told no? I know for me, when I did sales, I would be like top salesperson, and then I would, like, other people would get ahead of me and I would stick to like right where I was, and I would think, well, that was, I used to be the top with these numbers. But it's like being told no and trying new things, like it can be really hard.
I love that. I really, really love that question. I don't know if you saw the excitement on my face when you asked that, but the reason I love that is because of my own experience, because I have found for me, plateaus come when there is a lack of alignment in what I'm doing. So that level up demands, like you're just talking about with sales, that level up demands a higher level of performance or a higher level of showing up to get to that next, to get from 2 referrals to 5 referrals, to get from 2 clients to 5 clients to 10 clients is a different level of showing up. And when you feel like you're not that person yet, the person who has 5 clients, the person who has 10 clients, the person who makes $100,000, the person who makes $250,000, the person who has a team of 5 contractors, that is where that fear comes in.
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to do that? And you start defaulting on the how or whatever your default excuse is. Mine is the how. Mine has historically been, how am I going to do that? I know I
Mm-hmm.
want to be the person who has a team of contractors. Now I am that person. I have a team of 8 contractors, of which you're one of them. So, you know, it's exciting to look back and see that growth and think I was at a plateau at one point where I felt like I couldn't do this.
Mm-hmm.
Now I see that I can do this.
Right,
So
and
it's
I do this.
yeah, and I actually have this. I have this thing
Mm-hmm.
that I really wanted. So it's like making the decision, number one, I think you're going to have to decide. You're going to have to decide, okay, I'm going to achieve this. What does this look like for me? I think that you really can't do what you want to do. You really can't get through these barriers without um, having like that conscious thought that, oh, wait, I'm down here. I'm still down here. I thought I would be here by now. So, how am I going to get over this huge step? Right. And that kind
Mm-hmm.
of leads you to figuring out what do you really want and goal setting and looking at strategy. So, like, I think goals and strategy can be a great support. But if you're not in alignment and you're not accepting, like, who is the person I have to become to achieve this goal? Who is the person who has a team of 8 contractors? What do they do? Well, they're a little more organized than I was in the beginning. And they ask for help when they need it. And they
Yeah.
are willing to let go of the possibility that they have to do everything right. So, who
Right.
do I need to show up as to be the person who has what I want? And I think we underestimate that as nurses a lot because
Mm-hmm.
we think that it's a strategy we're lacking or a business process or a website or whatever it is that you have that I don't is what's keeping me from leveling up. And I don't think that's true. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
that we aren't in alignment with the person we need to be. We aren't showing up as the person who has these things, is in my experience.
That's really helpful and a really good answer. And I also think, just to piggyback off of what you said, I think as nurses, we're taught that like it's all up to us. Like we have to do it by ourselves. We don't have people that can help us. And anymore, it's like a lot of times if you have a tech, like we're short on nurses, we're short on techs. So you're having to do all this stuff, and there's really no one to help you because we're so short staffed. So I think we get in this mindset as nurses of like, I have this amount of time. I need to get all of this stuff done. If I don't get it done, no one else gets it done. And
You're
so I think
absolutely right.
it's really hard to break through from that. To I always tell management and anything like that, I have a really hard time saying I need someone to do this for me, because what if they don't do it the way I like, or what if they do it wrong, or what if I could do it faster? But you have to get out of that mindset. Like, what if they could do it better? What if they could do it faster than me? So I agree
Yeah.
with you though.
I've read so many books that say like 80% done to the ability that you could do it is 100% better than you doing it yourself. And so
Yeah.
that is like something that has stuck in my brain. And I know me and Jetty, my husband, have talked about this a lot. Just, can you do it to 80% of my ability? Then that's good enough, right? If it's 80% of how I would have done it, then it's 100% better than me having to do it myself. And I
Right.
think delegating is really hard when we have this baby that we believe that no one else loves like we do, this business, and they don't. They're not going to love your business like you do. However, it's about more about capacity and about, what do I have the capacity to add? What do I have the space? I think we as nurses kind of force ourselves into having a capacity that maybe we don't. And so I think like looking at, what does my capacity need to look like to add this other thing to it? And then what can I hand off? I think delegation, like I said, is a big part of it. And delegating to an assistant, delegating to a contractor. I think what I like is to be able to delegate things that I don't know how to do. And that's the opposite of what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to delegate things you know how to do really, really well. You're supposed to delegate things you could do in your sleep because you know
Right.
what it's supposed to look like when it's done. If you
Right.
delegate something you don't know how to do, or you can't manage the quality of, you have someone else doing that work and you don't know how to fix it if they don't do it right. You don't know how to give them direction if they're lost or stuck. And so I think not knowing how to delegate well is a big piece of why we don't do it more.
Right. I agree with that. Definitely agree with that. Well, okay, so we've talked about what it looks like, why it happens. So what can you do to overcome it?
Um, I think there's a lot of different things you can do. So there's some strategy things you can do to overcome it, some operational things you can do to overcome it, and there's some mindset things that you can do to overcome it. Obviously, if you have ever spoken to me before, you're going to know I'm going to say the mindset is going to be your biggest piece that you need to deal with to level up. There's really, that's what it is. It's a
Right.
mindset level up. And for some reason, when your mindset is where it needs to be, and all of a sudden you detach from the outcome, that's been a big thing for me. This is not tying up, this is not a live or die situation. This is not tying up my success or my family or who I am as a person. This
Right.
is not that real, right? This is something I want, and I have to disconnect from the outcome. This doesn't represent who I am or my value, right? So
Right.
getting your mindset in that right place to align with, you know, um, how you get there, I think is the biggest thing I've seen. And you can do that by self-talk. You can do that by reading, stepping away, stepping back. Sometimes we're like super committed and just so in the moment, like in the zone, like, no, I'm going to do this. And it's like, why? Why do you have
Yeah.
to do this right now? Like,
Yeah.
take a break,
Yeah.
step back, give yourself some space.
Which is
Like,
hard to do when you're super excited,
it is really hard. It is really tough.
And
But I have
not to
been really
like
sensitive.
interrupt you, but I
No,
do want to say
please.
this because it just came to my brain.
Good.
I also like something I've learned a lot with just kind of to go off of what you said, like narrowing your focus. I always say that, like, focus on the three things that you can do really well
Yeah.
and do those. And then instead of being like, I'm going to give 10% to 10 different things, why don't you give 100% to one thing and then knock it out?
Yeah.
Because for me, I like, if you looked at my desk right now, I have like school stuff and work stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'll do a little bit of school, I'll do a little bit of work, and then I'm like, I didn't really do anything. So this morning I was like, I'm going to focus an hour on making these calls, and then I'm going to take 30 minutes and work on school, and it's like when your brain is in one place, it's so much more effective and you get so much more done.
I think for me, asking myself what would be easy has been a really simple strategy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if this was easy for me, if this was something I knew how to do, what would that look like? What
Right.
would be easy for me? Well, it would be easy for me to go to Zoom and start a Zoom meeting. I know how to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It would be easy for me to ask you to join that Zoom meeting. I know how to do that, right?
Yeah.
So instead of like creating this global scale as solopreneurs, as nurses often are, if you don't have a ton of business support and you're trying to do these big things that result in these huge leaps, to your point, Casey, what would the smaller version of that look like if we broke
Mm-hmm.
that down into what is something I know I can do, right?
Right.
I don't think I can have a global workshop with 100,000 people attending it. And I don't even know how to set up a webinar and make a funnel.
Right.
What do I know how to do? I know how to share a Zoom link on Facebook and say, I'm wanting to help people. Here's how I know I can do that. Here's a free Zoom call, right? So start with what feels good and what
Mm-hmm.
feels aligned. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, serving a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the times feels aligned. I know that I can do that. I know I could show up and offer to help you.
Mm-hmm.
I know I could help you somehow. Maybe it's just, maybe it's not going to look perfect. It's not going to be scheduled through a appointment scheduler or through a receptionist or an assistant or a secretary or whatever. It's just going to be literally me saying like, I saw you were struggling with this and I think I could help you. Offering to
Yeah.
serve in some capacity, I
Mm-hmm.
think is a big part of leveling up. And saying yes is something that I always um, have found to be terrifying and effective. Um,
Mm-hmm.
is that if you know you want to do something, you know you want to get from here to there, and you don't see a path there, if someone offers you help or someone offers you an opportunity to get from here to there, you just say yes.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, that's okay. You didn't sign your name in blood to it. You just said, that
Yeah.
sounds great. Hey, that sounds great. And you take that help and you see what you can do with it. See how you can leverage it. See how you can partner and see how
Mm-hmm.
you can evolve your goals. Snacks, good with snacks. See, this is
Snacks help.
very key feedback here, because the power of like a nap and a snack cannot be measured and should not be
Even
limited.
Jesus said it. Yeah.
Yes, yes, right.
um, I also think that's really good advice for anything. And this is going to be my little 30-second masterclass. I
Okay.
have moved in like 10 years, probably 10 times.
Yeah.
And I have lived in 5 different states, from Hawaii to Texas. I lived in different parts of Texas, all over Tennessee. I mean, I've lived in so many places, and I've made so many friends. And people always ask me, how do you make, I'm not like you. I'm not outgoing. I can't just make friends. And I'm like, I can help you make friends. Go to everything you are invited to.
Yeah.
Anytime someone calls you, answer. Anytime someone says, come to my church, come to my house for dinner, we're having a game night, we're going out to play, whatever, even if it's something you don't play. I've went to so many things that I don't care about because I wanted to make friends. And I think it's the same thing with networking or, leveraging your connections. Like if someone says, hey, like I know you're starting a business, I used to do something similar. Even if you think you know more than them or you think whatever, they might teach you something you never even knew, or introduce you to someone that really can help you, or or you just make a good friend that is holding you accountable for your the success. So
I
there
want to
you
add
go,
to that. I
folks.
really like that. Thank you for that 30-second masterclass
You're
on
welcome.
building
You're welcome.
relationships. What I want to add to that is, I know for me, I get in this tunnel vision mindset that I can only do this one thing that I need to do because I'm stuck on it and I'm fixated on
Hmm.
it. I'm obsessed
Yeah.
with it. And so I say no to a lot of stuff because it doesn't look like it fits in the box of what I'm supposed to be checking that box. Well, yesterday at church or Sunday at church, a nurse, a local nurse who wants to start a coaching business, invited me for coffee yesterday. Said, I want to start a nurse coaching business. I'd love to learn more about what you've done and what you're doing and get some advice if you'd be willing to go get coffee with me. I love coffee. Big fan of coffee. So I was like, you know what? The kids aren't at school yesterday as a holiday. I have nothing on my calendar. I'm going to go get coffee. So I went and sat for 2 hours and we had coffee and conversation. And what happened out of that was not only did she get a lot of help and support from my uh, history of what I've seen happen in my business that she could apply, but I got a lot out of that. I got a lot of, oh yeah, this part is hard for nurses, and I got a lot of insight. I even got insight on the things I was working on that I wanted to check the boxes, and I also got a minute to clear my mind and not think about that project and step back from that project and say like, okay, this is not the only thing on the earth, right? So there's other things happening here, right? So it's one of those things where even unrelated things can help you.
Right.
Friends
Thank
Masterclass.
you.
Now know how to make friends. And also
Tune
the book
in.
by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, is a great option. That was super helpful for us. Me and Jed both loved that book, and it's super helpful in business and in marriage. So I highly recommend How to Make Friends and Influence People. But yeah, giving yourself the creative space to detach from that goal, I think, is huge, because when you just enjoy people and like build relationships, you get creative insights and solutions come. The solution, what's the phrase, like, when the student is ready, the teacher appears? Is that how it goes? I think it is.
I've never heard that,
It is.
but I'm
So when the
sure
student is
I
ready,
should know
the teacher
that.
appears. I don't think that's quite right, but that is very close to what it should be. And so I like that, because it's like, when you're at this plateau, you know the level up is coming. You don't know what it looks like. You don't know what the next step looks like. You just kind of have to show up and be yourself, right? And you just have to keep living your life and keep working, keep putting one. I think that would be my other strategy, is
Yeah,
just keep
the
showing
next
up.
step is required. Yeah,
The next step
regardless.
is required regardless. You can't just stop and hope that the next level comes to you, right? And I think we do that sometimes. Like, well, there's nothing else to do now. And it's like, obviously I'm going to have to revisit my plan here, because I can't seem to get past this. So what is the
Right.
plan? If I had to do something totally different, if this was shut down and not an option, what's next for me? Well, I guess I would continue what was working before. And that sounds glaringly simple, but for me, what has worked is to say, what was making me money and lighting me up and helping people before I started trying to do this thing that's not working. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you're stuck
Yeah.
in something that isn't working for you, stop doing that. Pivot.
That's what I was just about to say.
Pivot
If you're
back to
not
what was
enjoying it,
working.
you're not going to start enjoying it.
Right.
Find like what inspires you and why did you do it in the first place. And I feel like we always talk about find your why, find your why. I just think your why is literally so important.
Yeah.
Like, no one, when I think about when I'm making calls and I feel like really uncomfortable and I don't like to be told no, and I'm like a people pleaser, so I want everyone to be happy when they get off the phone with me. And then I think, well, if everyone's happy or I don't call at all, then I'm just better be ready to work 50 hours a week at a hospital. If I can't find clients or if I can't do this work that I don't enjoy doing it because it's hard and it's out of my comfort zone, like, you have to remember your why. My why always inspires me. And so being off on a snowy day like today and not having to leave, that is my why. That makes me think, I didn't have to get out at 5 a.m. when everything else in Austin is closed, which is crazy. But
I think that when you think about pivoting, that's what business is. It's flexibility and adaptability and adapting to what people need. Like, when you do market research on something and you find out oh, this doesn't really solve the problem people think they need solved. You can pivot your messaging, not change your product at all, and message it in a way that solves the problem people need solved. They get the same outcome, and you have now overcome that barrier of not knowing what to do, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when you get to those type of problems where you're like, oh no, I had this strategy for this thing and I guess I just scrap it now. No, business is about flexibility and adaptability. What can you do with that? What piece of that has value to your client, or
Mm-hmm.
what piece of that makes sense? Or how could you, mold and adapt that to something even higher value, or add value to something else, or combine it with something that does serve your clients well? And I think
Mm-hmm.
that that's a huge piece of business that is really hard for nurses to understand, because it's like,
Yeah.
well, this works, or maybe it's just my brain that doesn't do well with that.
No,
This
well, if
works
it's
or this
maybe
doesn't
it's yeah,
work,
I feel
right?
that way too.
Okay. Because I think we just think, oh, well, that didn't work. I'm going to scrap it and move on, which I
Mm-hmm.
don't think is bad to be able to say that. I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, you shouldn't scrap anything that's not working. By all means, pivot and do something else that works. But I also think we should stay very fluid and like accepting, like very open to possibilities that, okay, maybe this is exactly what it's supposed to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything is happening exactly the way it's supposed to happen. And I wasn't supposed to do this yet. I wasn't ready for
Mm-hmm.
this yet. This wasn't aligned yet. This wasn't on my path. I'm going to have to stay open and wait until it is. And sometimes just waiting is the strategy. Waiting until the right partner comes along, waiting until the right client comes along, waiting until the right connection is made to say, like, okay, now is the right time to move forward with this, or now is the right time to add this, or pivot or offer this. um, I think that's a big part of it, is that it's just hard to wait for the right time sometimes, and we don't know when the right time is.
And sometimes this might be a hot take, but I think some of it's ego too, because
Ooh,
like I know, but it just came to me. I was thinking
ouch.
about that
Well, that
because of
hurts a little. I'm feeling that.
yesterday
Shoulder
when you and I
blades.
were talking. How long have you owned a business?
5 years.
5 years?
Mhm.
Okay. So I've been doing my side hustles for almost 3. I've been
Mhm.
working with you for probably 3-ish
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
And I just said yesterday to you on the phone, I think I need to change the way I'm doing things. I think I need to focus this on this day and complete all this on this day. And instead of doing this weekly, I need to do this all at once. And like, I think after a while, after 3 years, I'm like, obviously, I know how to do this. But like life changes and business changes, and you get busier or you get less busy. And sometimes you just need to like adapt to that, like you said, and you have to let go of your ego that you know everything because it's your business.
Yeah.
Not saying this to you, I'm saying this to me. But like, you have to let go of it and think like, I don't know everything about business and how this is going to work. And if I let my ego get in the way, then I'm going to keep focusing on the wrong things and I'm going to get in this plateau and I'm going to get stuck. So,
I think that's a really good point. And also, you said something that I think is key, like, as you evolve and grow in your business, and as your business grows, and as you level up and level up and level up, your tasks change. And I think one thing that nurses have a really hard time with, especially nurses in direct care businesses that I see, is stepping out of the day to day and becoming the CEO. I also struggle with that because I love the client interaction. I want to manage my clients. I want to have calls from them, but also my capacity as I take on more, as my business grows, as I have more clients, gets less and less and less, and I have to be able to scale that to grow my business. And so I
mm-hmm.
have to understand, does a CEO answer every email? No, their assistant answers the email. The manager
Mm-hmm.
or the director answers the email. Does a CEO, you know, refill the shelves at the store? No, the CEO is running 15 chains, right? So it's like, once you get to the point where you realize, like, my tasks have to change. You're talking about how it's been 3 years and you realize your tasks are totally different than they were 3 years ago. And so you have this whole buffet of tasks that you need to organize in a way that's easier for you to access and eat as you're doing your tasks throughout the week, you need to do them in a way that makes sense for you to consume and for you to work through. And so I think that's looking at how our mindset changes. We have a different perception of our tasks. For me, like, if you were to ask me to set up a landing page right now, you were like, hey, Nina, I need a landing page for a PDF download for nurses who want to start a business. I could do that in my sleep. I could do that. If I dedicated an hour of my time, I could have that to you. Okay.
Yeah.
4 years ago, I think you could have given me 3 months and I would have came back to you crying on the 3rd month and said, I can't do this. I quit. Okay. So it's like
Yeah.
we evolve and grow into the person who certain tasks aren't hard anymore. We've achieved it. That's a level up that I can do that now. That's a
That's so
huge
good,
level
yeah.
up. It caused me many tears and frustration. So I also think, as again, back to simplicity here, gratitude has been such a critical part of my leveling up and busting through barriers and plateaus, is like that reflection and that kind of like just taking that pause to say, like, I couldn't do this before. I would have never imagined this possible for me. Even now, for my business that I have, like, would have never imagined this would be possible. And I think the gratitude practices and the reflection of, like, look how far I've come. Look what I've accomplished. Look what I did last year that was not even on the radar, right?
Right.
Like, Nina, do you see yourself being the president of the NNBA? Not in a million light years,
Yeah.
right? And just like that, it's real, right? So I think a lot of that waiting for you to be the person you're going to be and the person you want to be, is painful. And so the gratitude practices and like the mindset practices, the reflection, the self-care and searching yourself and knowing yourself and what your needs are and how you perform and your perception and your mindset, and being really, really keenly aware and in tune with that, has been huge for me, because I would not have been ready for the things that came to me had I
Right.
not been able to prepare myself the way I had, because I knew something was coming, but I didn't know what it was. I had no idea what it could
Right. Well, that's so good. Well, I think it'd be good to kind of challenge anyone that's watching this just to like pick an area where you feel stuck and take one action towards breaking through
Yes.
from that, because
One
it's
step.
we're so focused on one thing right now. That's what we're talking about, is focus on one thing. Pick one thing that you feel stuck in and break through it. Then email me because I want to
Yeah.
know, and I'll share
Yes.
it with Nina.
I
So,
love
it's important to be held
that.
accountable.
My mindset coach that I've had says move in aligned action. So whatever feels good and feels right,
I'm
move
writing
towards
that
that.
down.
Move in aligned action, right? So when you feel like you're moving in a direction that feels like gross or uncomfortable, I remember, like, I had this advice from this digital coach, and he was a great coach. He was awesome. I loved him. It was about webinars and doing webinars and how to get people, how to do Facebook ads and get people to sign up for these workshops. And I just felt really gross about it. There was nothing wrong with it. It just wasn't aligned for me at all. It wasn't the way I want to show up. It just wasn't. And so
Right.
after like 3 months of doing these Facebook ads to get, nurses to join my consulting webinars, I decided that wasn't aligned for me. And it was funny because when I stopped doing that way, and I started doing it in a way that felt more aligned, and I started just doing like free lives in my Facebook group and free workshops and sharing that with, nurses who I knew were interested in that, I had the same outcomes that I would have had with the ads, and I felt better about it. And so it's like, if something doesn't feel aligned, make it the way that does feel aligned. Make it easy for you. Make it make it feel like there's no resistance, right? So what would feel like there's not resistance there for you to do? And maybe that's a very small step. Maybe that's just like outlining what you would say if you did have a webinar. Like that can be a whole revelation in itself. Like, oh wait, what would I even do, right? What would I do if I could do whatever I wanted? and just spend some time and create the space for you to do that. But also just to say, like, what I was talking about having a mindset coach, that may seem absurd to some people. And honestly, if you would have asked me if I would spend money on a mindset coach as a nurse, I would have laughed in your face. I had no value to mindset at all. And one of my really good NNBA friends, Teresa Sanderson, on a call one time, like dropped a little ninja mind kick and was like, I think you've got some mindset issues, Nina. And I was like, what? And that, like, literally one little tiny comment, like, I used to love Dane Cook, and you remember, like, one of his like famous stand-up routines, he was like, "You're just like your dad," and it's
My
like that.
father is a brilliant man.
My father's a brilliant man. It's like that mind
Yeah.
explosion that you're like, wait a second, this is a big deal. And when she said that, I realized this is a big deal. This is a big deal to realize that there's something deeper that you can't fix yourself. And that's where investing in a coach for whatever it is, whether that be mindset, whether that be business operations and strategy, whether that be marketing, whether that be whatever, financial. I highly recommend, if you're stuck, if you're really stuck and you've done all these strategies and you can't get out of it, I highly recommend that you look for more structured support. And I'll tell you that when you spend money on it, you've got a little skin in the game, and it's a different story, right?
Yeah.
It's a totally different experience than when you're just chatting with another nurse about what you want to do. And when you've paid $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, whatever you decide is right for you. I have paid all of those for coaches and seen return from all of it. So for me, it's been a huge, huge way to level up, to have a coach who challenges me past where I think I am.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. And we also have, NNBA support you can invest in too. The Momentum Guide is $27 to help plan and outline your strategy and level up. That's a huge
If you're
tool.
not a member.
Yeah, if you're not a member, free for members. If you're not a member, it's $27 for a level up tool that can help you get over this barrier you're dealing with because you don't have a plan, right? But also just the conference and networking. And we're looking at masterminds and small group ways to help you level up your business in the next, in the end of the year and going forward after we get through this first conference. So we want to help support you as well, but we also want you to be committed to investing in yourself, because if you're not, and whatever that investment might be, it could be time, it could be your reputation, it could be going out on a limb and stretching yourself, it could be investing in your mindset, investing in healing your past issues that are keeping you from moving forward, whatever it is, like, it's going to be a cost. You're not going to get anything for free. There is a cost, right? And that cost might be investing in yourself and working through the things that you haven't been ready to work through until now. And your business and your level up is going to require you to do it. You're not going to get past this plateau unless you do the work.
Right. Yep. Susie, I saw Susie has a question.
Susie Dunn. Hi, Susie. I have a patent for a medical device and have just started a company. Congratulations, Susie. Woo! I have a company to produce, but need investors. How do I find networking sites? That's a good question. I think social media is probably the number one networking site, but if you're looking for business connections and investors, I think there are a lot of different associations and, spaces that you can do that, like BNI, and lots of other, you could even look at SCORE SBA for mentors and connections. And then if you're not an NNBA member, obviously I'm going to recommend the NNBA member directory. We have tons of members who have gotten patents on things and come up with their own products, their own clothing lines, their own medical devices. all kinds of really cool things. So I would look externally out at other business, especially if you're looking for different types of businesses. You're looking for a non-nurse owned company or something like that. Maybe external business associations would be somewhere to look. But if you're looking for nursing support, obviously the NNBA and also Nurse Capital. And I hope that's the right term. But Nurse Capital is a new company, nurses investing in nurses. And Beth, the one of the founders of that, is an NNBA member, and so always want to promote our members and lift up what they're doing. But Nurse Capital would be a great way. I'm going to put this in the chat. A great option to explore. So they could help connect you with investors, and they're hands-on for building your brand and building your medical device and equipment companies and venture capital for nurse entrepreneurs, and that's what they do. So it's really exciting. This is a relatively new company, and so it's really exciting to have options like this for us. So I'm excited to be able to share that. Drew, host an event on NNBA. All right.
Yeah. Or
yeah,
even like
that's a great way to make
connections.
Yes.
Yeah. I was going to say sponsorship kind of stands out to me too, because it just brings you so much brand visibility, and everyone will see your name and your product, and you'll get to say a lot about yourself to other people, and then they can share that too. So it's not just one person you're telling it to, it's hundreds telling thousands. So
yeah. Yep, I agree. I think that's a excellent insight, is that if you're looking for expanding your network in a big way, and if you need potential clients and you need to expand your lead generation, and that's your barrier, sponsoring is a huge way that you can accomplish that quickly. It's a great opportunity to get your name out there, to get lots of leads at once. And having an exhibit table at the conference has been huge for us. We've gotten a lot of really good, very qualified leads that way. So that's been helpful. You're welcome. You're so welcome. Great question. All right. Anything else, Casey, that you want to remind us of? I love your challenge. So just to recap that challenge, to pick one aligned action that's moving in the same direction you're going in. Pick one aligned action and do it. And then
email me. I'll hold you accountable.
At Nurses Business. I'm typing this in.
Come on. Yeah.
Okay. So we're challenging you this week to pick one aligned action and do it. One action in alignment with where you're trying to go. Do it. Pick one area where you feel stuck. Take one action towards breaking through. Email Casey when you do it. Who knows? Maybe we'll send you something special if you accomplish your goal. We love giving stuff away and surprising people and rewarding you and celebrating with you. And I think celebrating is really important. I'm glad that just came to me, because celebrating when you achieve that level up is something we're not good at as nurses. We're just like, check, next. No, it's not check and next. Yeah. It's check, bottle of champagne, rooftop party, next. Yes. whatever you do to celebrate, get your nails done, get a massage, take a day off, go out to dinner, celebrate yourself, whatever feels good to you. Celebrate your wins. Celebrate when you level up. It is so important to celebrate our wins and level up. So.
All right. Well, I'm excited. Drew said he's going to email me. So
okay.
This is exciting.
All right.
I'm looking forward to hearing from you. But otherwise, I think that's pretty much it. Just a reminder about the conference. I know Nina kind of touched on it, but of course, I got to be the one to say something. I really want to see everybody there. We still have a few exhibitor options. We still have a few sponsorship options, but it really is filling up quick. We don't have as many exhibitor tables as we wish we could have.
I know.
So if you want to be a part of it, definitely start making moves. Also, keep an eye on our event calendar. I've been talking to a lot of nurses lately that have been adding stuff or discussing, kind of giving me some ideas of things that they're gonna add to the calendar, which I think is really great. It's kind of like it's free exposure, people. So
right. Yeah,
I think it's really great. If you're a member, yeah. And I am even looking into maybe hosting some kind of like digital coffee hours, that just to check in with people. So we're kind of moving in that direction. So keep an eye out for exciting things happening and be a part of our 40th year.
I did share the link in the chat to, if you need conference information, where can I find conference lists? I'm hoping that the website will answer that question, that the agenda is there, and that's what you meant, Susie. I hope that answers that question you had. And we're excited. I hope to see you guys all there. Thanks for coming on today, and we'll see you next Tuesday. We'd love to see you on here again. Thanks.
All right.